In this video, you will learn a psychological principle scientists have discovered that turns people you've never met before into close friends in just 45 minutes. I will explain how this works in a minute, and in order to do so, I need to take you to my garage because I don't have ordinary garage stuff in there. I will take you there in a minute and you'll see, but to make friends you don't have to become someone else or hang out with loud, drunk people and parties you don't even like and always push out of your comfort zone. I'm talking about instead making real friends who you have things in common with and look up to you and want to hang out with you. In 2009, scientists revealed how we lose half our friends every 7 years. So it's critical to know exactly how to connect with people and make new friends if we don't want to see everyone around us just disappear and go away as the years pass by. Now, I know I might sound a bit dramatic, but I've seen some examples of how people have reached their social dream lives. And I've also seen some sad examples where people have ended up all by themselves. So stick with me. I'm David Morin. 10 years ago, something happened in my life that through a series of events might have an impact on your life as well. When I was still in school, me and a friend started a tiny import business. And I got lucky because one day I met a powerful businessman who became my mentor. And soon this tiny company started to grow and I had to start traveling a lot to China to visit factories. And the problem was, how should I, nervous, young, short, make these old, powerful factory owners in China accept me so I could get the deals I needed? And I had to come up with ways to win their trust, but I felt really scared, being in a country I've never been to before. And I tried faking self-confidence, and after a while that faked self-confidence turned into more of a true self-confidence when I noticed how they started to respect me. And now I have to warn you, faking confidence like I did can go incredibly wrong. Doing it the wrong way might make you repel people because they think that you come off as a douchebag instead or just annoying. The good news are that these mistakes are easy to avoid once you know them, and later in these videos I will show you how to really boost your self-confidence at social events the right way, in ways that are proven in real life and in experiments. One technique that I will show you made test participants instantly 3 times more self-confident. And I didn't believe it would work the way it did before I tried it myself, so stick with me. But in some way I made these old factory owners trust me and I could finally get the deals I needed to make the business really grow. And there were some dark clouds coming up on the horizon, but I didn't see that yet. And we started to make sales, not just in Sweden, but in Europe as well. And soon this tiny business had a turnover of almost $3 million a year. And one day someone told me that it's cool that you have a multi-million-dollar business. And it felt so realistic because I never thought of it that way. I'm just a normal guy, but I happened to be at the right place at the right time. A few years later, I got an invitation to a very high-end event. And it was in a wine cellar in a restricted area of an exclusive hotel. And there was the elite of the entrepreneurs from all over the country. I had been nominated Young Entrepreneur of the Year in Sweden, where I'm from. But soon the reality catched up with me because I thought that as soon as I would become successful, I would start making friends as well. But I didn't. I learned the hard way that money and success didn't buy friends. I spent most weekends alone, and one part of me feared that I would remain lonely for the rest of my life. But I had learned something from my business, and here's where it gets interesting for you. I knew from my trips to China how I, with small changes in how I behaved, could create a massive difference in how people saw me and how people treated me. And could it be that small changes in how you behave could make me a more attractive person as well? Not just help me in business, but also to connect with people and make really good friends. And I decided to invest the money from my import business by seeking out and putting together a team of experts and behavioral scientists. And one of the behavioral scientists in my team, who's also a dating expert, discovered how being good at attracting a partner doesn't mean that you're good at attracting friends. and I started to understand that we were onto something completely new. Now, all in all, I've spent more than 8 years and several thousands hours personally into learning this stuff. And my team have read all there has been written about behavioral change and social dynamics during the last 30 years. And up to this point, I've had more than 2,000 people participating in my programs on how to live a more social life. And these were people who thought there was no way their life could change. Some of them believed that they lacked something fundamental or would never succeed because they weren't born a certain way or weren't good looking enough. And now they're great at making close friends. They feel confident in social situations and they have become great at making conversation with anyone at any time. And now they are the ones people look up to and want to hang out with. Now, they are the ones who others look up to and say, they are born with something, I can never be like them. So what is the secret behind making close friends with anyone? To understand this, you need to follow me to the garage. Now we're just outside the garage. And first I need to tell you something important. Many gurus talk about the importance of going out of your comfort zone. That can be something good, but we discovered how dangerous this advice can also be. Because I've heard gurus and experts say that you're supposed to go out there and approach 10 strangers a day, every day for a month. And few people can push themselves into doing something like that day after day. And those who could were probably quite well off socially to begin with. Or they had a really good coach who spent hours with them every day for weeks and pushed them all the time. But what happens is that the remaining 99% of us normal people just feel worse about ourselves. We think that now I've even purchased this course or this book and I still haven't made progress. And that makes it feel like it's our fault when it's just some self-proclaimed guru who gives advice that sounds good but doesn't really work. And when we started to look for what really works, we found some fascinating things that I'm about to share with you in these videos. Now, a few years ago, American scientists managed to create a system so effective that it made strangers describe each other as close friends in as little as 45 minutes. And for most people, it takes months and years to become close friends, if it happens ever. And I've been speaking to the scientist responsible for this research in the 90s, so I was able to get a unique insight into this program. And this is really powerful stuff to know, because by understanding what this scientist discovered, you can turn people you like into your close friends. So follow me in. And we are now in the garage, and we've turned it into a video studio, so let's get started. Vad bra. So what the scientists did was that they put total strangers together, 2 and 2. And on the table between them, they placed a deck of cards. And on these cards were pre-written questions that they had to take turns asking each other. It was the way these questions were set up that was so fascinating. The questions started off just slightly personal. One of these questions were, would you like to be famous, and in what way? And then the questions got gradually deeper. One question was, what is the greatest accomplishment of your life? And by the end of the 45 minutes, the questions got really deep. One question they used here was, of all the people in your family, whose death would you find most disturbing and why? Obviously you should not ask a stranger these questions. This was in a laboratory environment. But the people who participated in these experiments became very close friends, and many of them are friends still this day. I've been talking to the researcher who was responsible for this program during the 90s, Dr. Elizabeth Page Gould, and she works at the psychology department at the University of Toronto. And she told me that the reason for this protocol to be so effective is that it mimics the natural way friendships develop. However, this method makes this process several hundred times faster. And first of all, you need to feel comfortable enough in social situations to be able to have personal conversation. And I will teach you everything you need to know about this in the next video, but there is something hugely important we can learn from this method that will change your social life, but there are also some pitfalls when it comes to using this method. If you try to ask too many questions too fast, you will come off as weird. And if you ask too personal questions too fast, you will come off as creepy. So you can draw a diagram like this, where you feel closer and closer to the other person as long as you gradually talk about personal things. But this was in a laboratory, and it took 45 minutes for these people to experience that they were close friends. And for most people, the scale is months or years. But for you who know this method, you can gradually go this deep in 3 to 5 days. Or 3 to 5 times of hanging out. And if you go too personal too fast, you don't make closer friends. Instead, if you try to go too deep, you will instead repel each other. And to make close friends with someone, you need to know things about that person. It doesn't have to be private, super personal stuff like in the experiment, just some things about their lives and opinions. Because conversations have two modes. One is the generic mode. It's the conversation 9 out of 10 people are having. And say that you're meeting a coworker at work after the weekend. And this could be a classmate or any other acquaintance as well. And this is how it usually goes. You know, you say, hi, how was the weekend? And your friend replies, it was good, and yours? And you say, good. And you know, that's it. That's quite awkward. If you just stick into these kinds of conversations, you're not making friends. There's nothing wrong with these conversations in itself. We need that type of conversation to warm up, but those who stick to it often can't really connect with people or make close friends. And generic conversation is about generic stuff that has happened, like it could be the weather, or it could be news, or it could be superficial things like how the weekend was. And again, it is okay to talk about this. It's just not the kind of talk that makes us connect. And then there is the personal mode. And this is what you want the conversation to switch into. And after you had a conversation that switched into the personal mode, something important happens. People start to feel like you have a special connection. And this right here is life hacking at its best. So the personal mode is about you asking about their views on something. Or it could be their thoughts or feelings. Or it could be the perspective of what you happen to be talking about. Like, what's your favorite way to spend your free time? Or what would you like to work with if you could choose anything? Or where would be your favorite place to live in the world? Or what do you think about something? You know, what do you think about this or that? What's your plan when it comes to something, or what's your opinion on something? What do you like? So the personal mode is where you talk about something that you are emotionally connected to. It shouldn't be about, you know, the death of your loved ones, and it doesn't have to be about sensitive subjects like politics and religions. It could be about getting to know each other's future plans, knowing what music you both like, knowing how you spend your free time. So to switch that boring generic conversation with your coworker into a personal mode, just insert a tiny bit of yourself. Let them peek into the real you. And you can do something like this. If you say, hi, how was the weekend? And the other person replies, it was good, and asks, how was yours? But then you say, it was good. I have a hard time enjoying Sundays though. I'm just thinking about how the weekend will end. And you can now ask the other person something slightly personal, like, do you like work or do you get stressed about it as well? And again, this can be in school or at work or any other situation where you meet occasionally. And this is the exact moment where the shift happens. You're about to get to know each other. To know each other, you need to know things about each other. If you open a bit to the other person, she or he will feel more comfortable giving a personal answer. And in fact, it's a great experience to answer a question like this because you feel that someone listens to you and cares about you. And that is one of the fundamental drives we humans have. They will like you more. And you've shown that you're not a random extra passing by in that person's life, but a real human being with thoughts and feelings just like themselves. And people will like you more the less you try to present yourself. And the more you show interest in their lives instead. So if you do that, you set yourself apart from 90% of everyone else, and people won't really understand why, but they will just think that you're that cool person who is so nice to hang out with. You've now learned the principles behind connecting closely with someone, but I have to give you a warning. If people sense how you don't enjoy the situation or feel uncomfortable, they will be weirded out. But the good news are that there's been a tremendous progress in the field the last couple of years. There are methods for building a strong self-confidence in social situations that I didn't believe would work the way they did before I tried them. And when you have this self-confidence in social situations, it simply changes everything. You can enjoy the situation, and people will see that confidence. They will look up to you and they will want to be like you. I will reveal how this works and send you the new video in just a few days, so keep an eye on your inbox. People often feel uncomfortable approaching strangers because perhaps the stranger will respond negatively. And this uncertainty of how strangers will react keep us from talking to them later. And later in this course, I will show you 3 rules, 3 principles for how to talk to people that makes them like you. And they are universal principles and they work all over the world. So if you use these principles 9 out of 10 times, people will be thankful that you talk to them. They will like you. Of course, sometimes you come across grumpy people and that's okay. Some people are like that. But it happens very seldom, and I can't remember the last time I spoke to a stranger and they responded negatively. So if you follow these 3 simple rules, you will walk through life with the confidence that you can talk to strangers and they will like you. So keep watching these videos. They will help you become this person people actually look up to and want to be with. But first, scroll down and leave a comment. I want to hear from you. How is this going to fit into your life? How is this going to make an impact in your life? I would love to hear how you use what I learned in these videos. I'm going to read every single comment personally myself, and I'll be responding to as many as I can. So just scroll down right now and go ahead and leave a comment.